From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Tuesday morning. It's 5:30. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for getting your day started with us. And we also start the day with our friend Miller in the Weather Center to tell us, can we expect more snow?
Well, there's a slight chance we could still see some flurries this morning, clearing up, and then there is the possibility of more snow in the forecast as we head into the weekend. Springtime in Montana. You got to love it. Good morning, everyone. So take a live look from the rims down into Billings. That shot courtesy of the Stockman Bank weather cam. It feels like 14 at the airport. Actual temperatures at 25. Dew points at 17. Winds out of the west at about 12 miles an hour. Let's take a look at some temperatures around the area, shall we? Big Timber at 23. Harlingen maybe seeing a little bit of flurries right now. It looks like it's off to your northeast, though, at the moment. You're sitting at 18. 26 in Huntley. Down in Basin, we're at 24. Aberdeen Hill 23 and Sheridan at 25. Highs today in the 30s, and we'll see some 40s. Slowly warming up, but of course we're going to be below average again today. We're going to go with a high of 43 here in Billings. We start off in the 20s. We'll be in the 30s by lunchtime and into the 30s and 40s as we get into the afternoon. Again, we could see some flurries this morning, maybe a slight chance as we get into the daytime. We do have this very weak area of high pressure sliding in from the north that will dry us up for the next couple of days. And then comes another system to change our forecast. And we'll take a look at that coming up here in just a bit.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much, Miller. We begin with crime news this morning. Police are trying to figure out who shot a Billings woman in the head, sending her to the hospital. The crime happened yesterday afternoon at an apartment complex on the 4100 block of King Avenue East. Multiple shots were fired through the door of one of the units, and a 45-year-old woman was hit in the head. Police still do not have any suspects. Authorities believe they know who murdered a Billings woman last Wednesday. 22-year-old Harry Porter and 28-year-old Erica Miller are accused of strangling and beating 64-year-old Roxanne Watson in her Avenue B home. That same week, Porter and Miller were found dead in a wooded area near West Yellowstone. Authorities say it appears to be a homicide-suicide situation. A wanted fugitive captured in Chicago is scheduled to be arraigned today and charged with murder in a crime that happened here in Billings. 28-year-old Lorenzo Harris is charged with shooting and killing 39-year-old James Williams at a house party on December 27th. Court documents state Harris was seen fighting with the victim in the doorway of Harris's mother's home in South Billings. Harris then allegedly shot Williams in the neck. He's charged with felony, deliberate homicide, and tampering with witnesses and informants. He could spend life in prison. In national news, the fate of Derek Chauvin is in the jury's hands now. Jurors spent about 4 hours deliberating after getting the case yesterday. They will remain sequestered until they reach a verdict. During their final plea yesterday, the prosecution again showed video of Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck. The defense countered by saying Chauvin acted reasonably and that Floyd died because of a heart condition and illegal drug use. A conviction could carry a 40-year prison sentence. Chauvin's defense asked the judge for a mistrial over comments made by California Representative Maxine Waters at a weekend rally in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. The Democrat encouraged protesters to stay on the street and get more confrontational if they don't see a guilty verdict. The defense argued that the comments were threats against the jury process. The judge denied the motion for a mistrial, but conceded her comments could be grounds for an appeal. Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy plans to introduce a motion to censure Waters for her statements later today. Now we go to Helena, where Republicans continue their investigation into the state judiciary, alleging bias on key issues before the state Supreme Court. The GOP subpoena requested documents from all 7 of the justices and asked them to appear before a special Senate committee leading the investigation. The document request didn't hold up in court, but the justices did appear, and across the board said there would be no issue ruling on any legislation. At center stage is a bill giving Governor Greg Gianforte more power to appoint judges. Republicans asked members of the court if ruling on a bill that affects them directly is like umpiring their own game.
Not umpiring our game. We're umpiring and trying to decide the basis of a legislative subpoena. It's not personal to any of the parties that brought the case. The question is basically a question of law.
GOP leaders say the meeting was a major step forward in their efforts, but add they will continue their investigation into potential judicial bias. Meanwhile, a bill that would prevent transgender female student athletes from participating in competitions designated for girls or women continued to spark heated debate. Yesterday, a group of advocates and students gathered in front of the Capitol to protest it. Even the NCAA has come out against the bill, saying if it is passed, the Cats and Grizz won't be allowed to host postseason sporting events. While opponents say it's exclusionary, the bill's supporters believe it protects women from unfair competition.
Sports has categories for age, weight, skill level, and in this case, sex. A transgender male or female can participate in the sport of their sex, and in today's world, no one cares what they look like.
If you are or ever were a female athlete, you're being used. That doesn't feel good. You are being used as a weapon against trans people.
House Bill 112 is set for a hearing in a conference committee this week. If a final version is agreed upon, it will need to pass both the House and Senate again. Governor Greg Gianforte signed a pair of laws that affect voting in Montana. One of them ends voter registration on Election Day, while the other creates stricter ID requirements for voting and registration. A sponsor of one of the bills said the two new laws protect the integrity of elections in the Treasure State. Election Day registration had been in place since 2006. In education news, every public school student in Billings will return to the classroom next fall. School District 2 is officially doing away with remote learning once this school year is over. The middle and high schools will also return to their pre-pandemic 6-period schedules. Superintendent Greg Upham said the cost of remote learning is too high, and a survey of parents, students, and teachers showed the 6-period schedule was preferred.
I think we all have to begin to live as normal as we possibly can. And so as we set the framework for schools for SD2 for 21-22, we are going to, if the virus will allow us to, we're going to start as normal as possible and operate as normal as possible.
The school board is still discussing whether or not they will require masks when school starts next fall. Also making headlines this morning, Washington, D.C.'s medical examiner has determined the officer who died the day after the January 6th Capitol riots passed away due to natural causes. Brian Sicknick suffered strokes and died from natural causes. There was no evidence Sicknick suffered any internal or external injuries. Despite his findings, the medical examiner stated the events of January 6th played a role in his condition. The findings all but ensure prosecutors will not be able to file murder charges against 2 men arrested and charged with assaulting Sicknick. In the U.S. Senate, Democrats will reintroduce sweeping climate change legislation today. The Green New Deal will call for the country to reduce its dependence on fossil fuels and to create high-paying green energy jobs. The plan includes a proposal to help reduce pollution in low-income communities and to ensure clean water supply. A previous version of this legislation never went to a full vote 2 years ago when the GOP controlled the Senate. The new version would still need the support of at least 10 Republican senators for it to pass. There's more bad news for Johnson & Johnson and its COVID-19 vaccine. The FDA has now ordered a Baltimore plant to stop production of the shot after discovering contamination. Still, Dr. Anthony Fauci has said he expects the vaccine will continue to be administered by Friday. More than half of American adults have received at least one shot.